people break up into tribes. And a lot of times they come together on common grounds. You understand? Like at a church or something. And it's the most beautiful thing in the world. And it's God's spirit there in the church saying, I love you all equally. It doesn't matter to me at all. Can a leopard change its stripes? We were born this way. We're all God's equally beloved children. It's the only way to believe. I mean, anything short of that, in regard to your belief in God, you've got to fire that God and get the right God every time. So God's no racist. So why on earth would any godly person be a racist? That doesn't make sense. There's plentiful, simple solutions, my friend, to all the problems we have in society on personal levels and on the grandiose, the common denominator issues. But the evil men do not want, that's their worst nightmare, is that we solve our problems. Okay, we got to get off the junk. We could wean ourselves off it gradually. Wouldn't that be ideal? You understand? That's the kind of thing that guys like Martin Luther King Jr. understood. Okay, these are the people that I idolize. I mean, if I'm gonna idolize anyone, it's gonna be guys like Martin Luther King Jr. and JFK, because these were good, the best Americans. These were egalitarian Americans. These were the ones that believed in equality the most. And those are the people I want to go with, that mindset of people from here. I want to learn to live together in peace and harmony. I want to be where God wants me to be, and that's a world without any form of money. It's got to be, because anybody that loves money loves that advantage. Okay, and I want to take it away, not just from others, but I want to take it away from me. I don't want that. That's that being lucky, being subjective. Why should it be subjective? No. No, gratitude is for God gave us everything. He gave us all the resources. He gave us the desire we have inherently, almost instinctively, not to be useless, to enjoy, to value being appreciated, being useful to others. Do you understand? I mean, it's fundamental to understand we're created beings. God did not create us to be useless. So it's very natural that we created everything we have today. This accumulated knowledge over the millennia that we have, the infrastructure and the technology we have in the 21st century. It's mind blowing. Nobody would have believed this a couple hundred years ago. Nobody. If you drew pictures and tried to explain to them about smartphones and the Golden Gate Bridge, I don't know how far back that goes a ways, but it's, not even 100 years? I don't know. I can't remember. No, it hasn't even been 100 years. Was it 40s or something? I don't know. That's just a wild guess, to be honest. My history is not that good on the Golden Gate Bridge, even though I visited it and read it, but it didn't stick. Numbers often don't stick in my head. But listen, friends, I want the best for everybody, and that's how I cope. That's how I contend. At the end of the day, I turn to God and I say, God, please just strengthen me, encourage me, comfort me, give me everything I need. We all have equal access to this spirit. This umbilical cord is the spirit of truth. The spirit of God is there for all of us all the time. We could tap into it. We're being loved. We're being doted on. And that is where I get relief. I need that amazing grace because I feel this big sometimes. I really do. I'm as human as they get. And that's where God allows people to be. You got to be humble. You got to say, wow. It's the most important lesson to learn is humility. There is no room for ego. Ego, when you imbibe in the ego, it's like imbibing in evil. It really is. It's putrid in the sight of God. I mean, there's no room for self-righteousness. That's why right away I wanted to apologize for my attitude last week. Because you know what? I mean, I might start eating meat tomorrow. Am I going to be a hypocrite? Maybe. But the biggest objection I have to eating meat really is the fact that I don't want to make somebody do my dirty work. And I do not want to work in a slaughterhouse. Okay? And so it really is that simple for me. And at the end of the day, if I can live without it and simplify my life, why not do it? Is my attitude. You don't need the stuff. I mean, you look at the strongest animals on earth, and invariably they're vegetarians or close to it. I mean, I know whales eat, what do they call it, krill? So there's some tiny kind of algae-like critters or whatever. I'm not too familiar with that either, but itty bitty shrimps or something like that. But I mean, you look at the elephants; they're herbivores, and then the gorillas. Neither one of those creatures wants meat. And then you look at some of the like the buffalo. These are non-meat eating creatures, and they get very powerful. So I mean, it is possible that we could completely get off eating meat. I mean, I wouldn't mind because even a fish, even though I could catch and clean a fish, it's still not a walk in the park. It's not enjoyable to me. It doesn't smell good, and you're killing this creature, cutting its head off, cutting its tail off, slicing it up the middle, tearing its guts out of there, and then you frying it up in butter maybe, and it tastes really good. But you know what? I wouldn't mind evolving to having a body that's satisfied with eating other, just something else. I mean, what would be so bad if it tastes just as good and it was just as nutritious? Who cares? And someday when we've got vastly improved bodies, that's my hope. I started talking about life and death and this, and this is my hope, is that we're going to live for an eternity in a paradise, not in this crap hole. Because, like I said, my whole life. So I'm waiting for the worm to turn, but I don't want trauma. I do. You see, the evildoers project a lot of crapola, and I get a lot of that projected on me. Just trying to stand up and be a righteous, decent dude, a friend to humanity, a good brother, whatever. And I feel it, but I don't want trauma. I don't like other people's trauma any better than I like my own. So I don't want the storm to hit. I don't want the S storm to hit. But they're pushing God's hand. Okay, they're pushing the envelope too far, and that's how these people are. They're out of control. I mean, remember, don't expect their behavior to make sense. They don't know what they're doing. It's just the blind leading the blind when you listen to the people running this establishment right now, telling you, oh, everything's okay, and just keep going down this road, this trajectory. The wealth imbalance keeps growing, and poverty gets more and more difficult to enter middle class home ownership. That's a fact. They're not talking about educating people about that. And this is not good. This is not good. It's state of affairs to leave our children or their children or anybody. It's not fair to anybody. We got to straighten out this mess, man. We need cost of living deflation. We need the worth of our money to increase. It's that simple. And it's got to start with something universal that we all need. Essential human needs have gone up way too fast and way too much. It's improper. It's market manipulation. It's price rigging. We all know it's true. Okay, it's collusive special interest groups working together against the interests of the people at large. If you're not in this industry or that industry, no soup for you. Tough. You've been chosen. You've been appointed slave. Sorry, there's no hope of you ever getting ahead. It's hopeless. The best hope is when you're an old person, you get on welfare and you get housing assistance. But you give up all hope. So we need drastic changes. We need a total reset of economic values in this country to make it more fair. Okay, this federal minimum wage needs to be set and adhered to across the country. It has to be based on the cost of living, the consumer price index. It's the only hope, okay, my friends? That's it, okay? But, yeah, I mean, I don't want to sound hopeless, but I'm telling you, it's going to be a tough transition to make this change. It's going to be traumatic for some people. They're going to feel like they're losing, and they're going to pout and say, well, we're being victimized and picked on. You're stealing our wealth. I mean, this is socialism gone awry. But my friends, I ask you, is it right to tolerate $50 billion a year of the taxpayers' money going into this Section 8 housing program through HUD, your local housing authority? Is it fair to pour that in? And how much of that is being scooped up by administrative costs, these well-paying jobs within the organization, the agency? Okay. So what are they doing? Okay, they're exacerbating the problem by subsidizing these landlords. That was not the intention, at least not the proclaimed intention, but that's what's happened here. So the problem is actually being exacerbated. The problem of a lack of affordable, low-cost housing, affordable housing for people to purchase. Okay, I mean, we're just turning America into like Motel Row. I mean, eventually you could see that's the direction it's going. So it's like Americans that are born here have no home. They have no place. They're not. They don't. They don't have ownership. Okay, even though that in itself is illusory, because there's no true ownership. You don't get to, like they say, you don't